wickedness and contamination, evil, iniquity, perversion. Christ exchanged wickedness and sinfulness. And he took from us all of the things that we had filled up on the inside, and he gave us himself. He exchanged them for his pureness, for his holiness, for his honor, for his good. God did that for us. Somebody said, what an exchange. Watch this now. They said, I found in my illustration that about sin, that man calls it an accident. But God calls it an abomination. Man calls it a blunder. And God calls it blindness. Man calls it a defect. But God calls it a disease. Man calls it a change. But God calls it a choice. Man calls it an error. And God calls it an iniquity. Man calls it a fascination. And God calls it a finality. Man calls it an infirmity. And God calls it iniquity. Watch it there. Man calls it luxury. But God calls it leprosy. Man calls it liberty. But God calls it lawlessness. Watch it now. Man calls it trifle. But God calls it tragedy. Man calls it a mistake. But God calls it madness. Man calls it a weakness. But God calls it willfulness. God is not afraid of sin. But Jesus came and exchanged his life for sin. He took away our guilt and gave us his innocence. Somebody say, what a God, what a God. Somebody say, what a God, what a God. What a God, what a God. An innocent man. A man who knew no sin, unacquainted with sin, a stranger to sin, no consciousness about sin. He became our substitute. He died a vicarious death in place of. Gave his life that we might live. Sin, this degradation, this ugly stuff was laid on him, and he gave us his righteousness. Watch it now. It wasn't even an even exchange.